Welcome back, everyone, and this is one everyone should have expected. From life, Mexican chefs react to Americans' tacos and margs take on Cinco de Mayo. While chefs appreciate Mexican cuisine's day in the sun every May 5th, they're not totally on board with the way the U.S. has appropriated their food. May 5th is Cinco de Mayo, an American-Mexican marketing holiday in which people drink an excessive amount of margaritas and Coronas, stuff their faces with discounted tacos, and probably have no idea what the holiday represents. So how do Mexican chefs feel about this? First of all, Cinco isn't a celebration of Mexico's Independence Day. It's a celebration of the Battle of Puebla, where on May 5th, 1862, Mexico basically kicked Napoleon's nephew and France out of the country in a brief defeat of colonialism. The war was fought in the eastern central state of Puebla, the only region in Mexico that acknowledges the holiday. In the late 1980s, Mexican beer companies discovered they could make loads of money from an Americanized holiday, and according to the New York Times, it has worked. In 2013, Americans bought more than $600 million of beer for Cinco de Mayo, more than for the Super Bowl or St. Patrick's Day. Despite the commercialism of the holiday and the way people usually white people, of course they have to get racist, can disrespect Mexican culture by wearing sombreros and fake mustaches, and a couple of Mexican chefs, a couple of Mexican chefs are fine with the day. Well, mostly. People have no problem going to Maggiano's and buying a $26 big bowl of BS pasta with canned tomato sauce. But when I charge $26 for a piece of beautiful halibut with mole verde, they're like, 26? What the F? Uh, Chef, that's not because of your race. It's because when they go to Maggiano's, they expect to get gouged. And trust me, the people going to Maggiano's are not going to come to a smaller restaurant. The people coming to your restaurant are probably not in the league of those who go to Maggiano's regularly. I've been to Maggiano's once. I'm German, Irish, and English, and I make better pasta than they do. I also learned at a young age I like to eat, and I don't like to pay, so I learned how to cook. But I don't go to places like Maggiano's. I don't go to places that really are just a trap to take my money. I have a few local places, that's it. And trust me, if I came to a smaller place and ordered halibut with mole verde, unless I'm in Alaska where somebody probably walked the fish to the restaurant after catching it that day, I expect it to cost a little bit. Cinco de Mayo is like Taco Bell, Chef Zarela Martinez told HuffPost. It has given the opportunity for a lot of people to taste Mexican flavors and start establishing a flavor palette. No, it is not Taco Bell, trust me. Martinez grew up in Mexico and moved to New York City in the 80s. In 1987, she opened her namesake restaurant, Zarela, which closed in 2011. She is known for her Mexican regional cooking, and in 2013, the James Beard Foundation inducted her into its Who's Who of Food and Beverage in America. Cinco de Mayo brings a lot of people into restaurants, and they get exposed to a lot of different flavors. So even though it's a nightmare when everyone is there drunk and obnoxious sometimes, it's a great opportunity for businesses to show their world. I think it's a good holiday. 2 years ago, chef Diana Davila opened her Chicago-based home cooking restaurant, Mitukaya Antojeria. I hope I said that right. Since then, she and the restaurant have been nominated for 3 Beard Awards. Davila said the holiday doesn't make her mad at all. Why wouldn't I like it? I own a Mexican restaurant, she told HuffPost. It makes people want to go out and eat Mexican food on that day, so I'll effing take it. If anything, when things like that arise, it starts a conversation where people are like, I thought it was Independence Day. No, it's not. But that way they learn. It draws people in, so it makes me happy. When Martinez had her restaurant leading up to Cinco de Mayo, she'd spend a few weekends offering different regional dishes from Puebla and Mexico City, food that you couldn't have anywhere else. Everyone has this idea that Mexican is enchiladas or tacos. Not everyone, Martinez said. They don't realize that there's all this seafood and all these salads and magnificent vegetables. A lot of us do. The food from my restaurant is very sophisticated and esoteric, but in a casual way. Davila doesn't offer any specials on the day. and she hopes diners don't expect to encounter basic Mexican food. Mitokaya offers a fresh spin on margaritas and micheladas, and a one-of-a-kind nitro horchata. Really wish I could eat spice. That nitro horchata sounds great, as does most of her stuff. But unfortunately, stomach ulcers. As for basic Mexican, there's a lot of Mexican-owned places that are catering to the American public because it's their business, Davila said. For me, it's different. I've dedicated a large part of my life to learning the cuisine and traveling. If you want to go out and learn about culture, you are definitely going to have that here. Sorry. Because it is nostalgic Mexican dishes and flavors. It's the real deal. Though Martinez and Davila like Cinco de Mayo, they take issue with other aspects of appropriating Mexican cuisine. People don't understand our culture at all, Martinez said. All my life, I've dedicated it to making my culture known and understood. We have a very rich and beautiful culture that Americans don't appreciate. The most important thing to a Mexican is to have dignity. Americans don't understand there's all kinds of Mexicans. I come from a well-to-do family and I'm highly educated, and they don't understand it. You're dealing with you're dealing with jerks, probably liberals. Davila is bothered when people think Mexican food should be low priced. Uh, I come back to this a lot here, but not all Americans think that. Miss Davila, come to Texas. Come look at some of the actual good Mexican restaurants we have. They're not cheap. And it's not just tacos and enchiladas. It's a lot of what you're describing. And trust me, you come to Texas, you're going to find a lot of us know a lot more than the idiots you've been dealing with, but you're in Chicago, for crying out loud. I feel like there's a lot of ignorance revolving around Mexican cuisine in general, she said. I want to shed light, pardon me, on how diverse and complex Mexican food is. But I don't want to be negative about it. People have no problem going to Maggiano's and buying a $26 big bowl of BS pasta with canned tomato sauce. Yeah, that's ridiculous. And yes, it is. But when I charge $26 for a piece of beautiful halibut with mole verde, which I agree here, it is incredible, and fresh vegetables, they're like $26. What the F? I would not be. I would be begging you for the recipe because I love to cook. Our tacos are $4 a piece, but they're smoked beer can chicken. If you haven't had beer can chicken, you gotta have it. The chickens are smoked in a smoker for 4 hours. There's cactus fruit. I cannot pronounce that. I go across the street to a sandwich shop, and a bag of chips is $2, and people are tripping out about spending $4 for a taco with all of these effing ingredients. Ma'am, I understand that you're upset, but the language is going to bring people's opinion of you down. Thankfully, she said these criticisms don't happen as often as when she first opened the restaurant. Her clientele, overall, they're great. I love our people, Davila said. There are so many times that people are like, let's call this al pastor. It's not. You're just using the word al pastor because you like it that way. People do this all the time with Mexican restaurants, and it's not just white people, it includes Mexicans. I would like to thank Miss Davila for pointing out that it is just people who don't know what they're talking about. And that happens everywhere. She doesn't have a problem with white chefs like Ricky Bayless creating an empire around Mexican food. If you love Mexican food and you're researching it, why would you be upset if somebody loves the cuisine of your culture? Wouldn't that make you feel happy or proud? But it angers her when people haven't done the research in open restaurants. I would think it would anger any good chef, no matter what the cuisine. You're just capitalizing on something that you know is popular and people like, but you don't do it justice by understanding what it is that you're making, Davila said. And that was the quote from above. However you decide to spend or not spend the holiday, Davila suggests for those who want to stay home, they could make salsa with an ingredient you wouldn't normally add. She also doesn't want diners to think she and her staff will be lecturing customers on Cinco de Mayo. The thing is, at the end of the day, what I have is a restaurant, she said. If someone comes in and they're asking questions about it, I'd be there to answer any questions of what I know. But I don't think people are coming here because they want to have an effing history lesson. I want to, one, applaud Miss Davila as well as the other chef, because they both seem to be very logical and adult people, despite the language, which, again, I said, that's just going to affect people's view of you. You'll notice I'm trying to moderate my language here because I'm a Texan. We're pretty crude spoken most of the time. But I'm trying to moderate it here because, one, I don't want to get strikes, but also I don't want to be taken as just some redneck who's cussing every time you're on the channel. But as always, this article is written to insinuate that white America is somehow violating Mexican culture by eating tacos on Cinco de Mayo. I can tell you, I don't go out and get drunk on Cinco de Mayo. I don't go out and get cheap tacos on Cinco de Mayo. I tend to come home and have dinner with my family. Or I might go to a friend's house, and we typically look for one of our friends who does what Miss Davila suggested. They cook traditional style Mexican food. And there are several that do this. And it's always amazing. Unfortunately, I have to ask them to leave out the spice because I can't eat it. And that I can see it upsets them that I can't have they have to moderate their cooking. But luckily, they know it upsets me just as much because I really wish I could. But it's not appropriating anything. Where is this writer on the appropriation of Austrian culture on Oktoberfest? Where are they demanding that people actually research and find out that it was actually a marriage celebration of a duke and I believe it was a duke and duchess. It might have been just an Austrian prince. But as the years went on, this royal family decided they don't like paying for their anniversary party. So they contacted local breweries, and the breweries would pay for the entire thing because they could advertise and sell their beer. And now it's become what it is. Oktoberfest is a rich historical date, as is St. Patrick's Day. Where are these people demanding that white Americans not appropriate Irish culture by celebrating St. Patrick's Day wrong? They're nowhere to be found because, of course, Germany and Ireland are predominantly white, and they don't care who appropriates white culture, do they? For those of you watching this on Cinco de Mayo, I would like you to know that, one, I knew about the Battle of Puebla before I read this article to you. I also knew that that was in this article. That's why I didn't do it first. But those who've watched this and follow me on Twitter, at Sheepdog Smokey, you know I have a degree in history. I'm one of those weird people that you saw in sophomore, junior, senior year of high school walking around with a presidential biography or walking around with another nonfiction historical book. I was the weirdo all through my professional career until I went back to college that was reading the same thing all the time. From high school on, I read the nonfiction I had to. Lord of the Rings and Dante's Divine Comedy is all I read. It wasn't until a girlfriend of mine wanted to go see the Harry Potter series of movies that I made myself read them because I read the book first. And I enjoyed them. And now I'm back and I'm reading nonfiction. So I did. I know a lot of people don't. But here's the difference I would tell you to come away with. Unlike Miss Pimia here, I would not be upset with people who think it's Mexican Independence Day. It's not. It is to commemorate the Battle of Puebla and a day where Mexico kicked France out. So don't get upset with them. Don't snarl and treat them like crap because they don't know. Gently correct them. And that way when you go, actually, no, it's not. It was the Battle of Puebla. It was when France was kicked out of Mexico and colonialism ended for them. You're someone who's just taught someone something they didn't know. Then you can say, you know what, I know this great restaurant that actually does a lot of uh, cuisine from Puebla or Mexico City or Tijuana or anywhere else. Why don't we go try that and actually get some new stuff? Let's go try some new things. You'd be surprised how many people are very receptive to that. I brought up Oktoberfest, I brought up St. Patrick's Day because being German and Irish and being the history geek that I am, I study a lot of things. And I can remember in my first semester back in college, I was doing a speech for class, and it was for philosophy actually, I had to tell them about a holiday from one of my ancestral countries that they may or may not know about. Only the professor actually knew what Oktoberfest was. And I arranged to give mine during Oktoberfest, and the class was stunned because they didn't know that. They literally thought it was a holiday created by beer companies to sell beer, not the celebration of a wedding that later became about beer advertising and sales because the couple didn't want to pay for their own anniversary party. If you stop this, you're appropriating their culture, and start actually treating people like people and telling them, you know what, actually, this isn't Mexican Independence Day, man. This is a commemoration of the Battle of Puebla, where Mexico was able to drive France out, and Napoleon's nephew was the lead. And they drove him out, sent him back across the ocean. And then you can introduce them to more and more of the actual culture. You'd be surprised how many people are going to go, okay, what other holidays do you know about? Because we're going out with you. You might be surprised how many friends you make. But for people like HuffPost, I'm not surprised this is how they think because they're surrounded in an echo chamber of orange man bad, all white people are racist, and everything else under this liberal sun that tells them they are the pinnacle of humans and everyone else should be forced to obey them. I used to pity them. Now I just don't care. Coming up on Cinco de Mayo, as we are, I would tell you like Miss Davila did. Try something new. Expand your horizons. Learn something. If you learn that you don't like salsa with the new ingredient you put in, you don't make it that way no more. If you learn you do, you've found a new salsa. It's a win-win in my book. But I've talked long enough. Let me know what you think. As always, keep it civil. We don't learn from argument. We learn from debate. As always, make sure to like, share, and comment on this video. If anyone has any North Texas area unknown Mexican restaurants, leave them in the comments. I would love to go out and find somewhere new. And please remember to subscribe and activate notifications so that you are among the first to know of all new content as it is posted. As for now, until next time, I'm going to be trying to figure out why my face looks really red in this video. And for you guys, have a wonderful day.